Survival Street, issue number 2. We're back at it, folks. The first issue was fascinating. There are things about it I think were well done. Certain things about it I think weren't well done. Just an interesting concept. I still think this concept is really cool. And again, this book gives me some Mark Russell vibes with the way it's taking a concept, parodying it a little bit. This time it's a little more aggressive. And I think this issue is going to be the make or break for a lot of people going forward. And yes, it's a mini-series, but this is a hard sell. If you're not convinced yet, I can't say this book is going to convince you. Like somebody like me, puppets are like my thing. I love Sesame Street and the Muppets and that whole world and everything they do. I like that so much. I will give every interpretation of that world a chance. So doing this comic, it's kind of aimed for me in that way, but it's also a very heavy-handed message being said. And again, I don't think this book will make everybody happy. It stops being kind of like satire parody and starts just being like, fuck you. And that's kind of the problem, where it's not just like a parody anymore. It's just straight up making fun of somebody in a non-satirical way. And that's the problem. So let's get into this. It's an issue all about gun violence, so just stay tuned for that. We open up in the middle of some rally, and our team of Survival Street connoisseurs, they are being chased away by these gun-toting lunatics. They have to hide in a church, but it's not a good church to hide in because it's the Church of Christ the Reloader. Because here in this great state of Texas, everybody's a gun-toting son of a bitch. And that's the other thing too about this. You use real names, you use real identities for people. This kind of just stops being a parody and just starts being, we're just saying something. And that what it's saying, I kind of agree with. I don't want to get too political in this because I want to give you a fair stance. Gun violence is a serious problem, especially in America. It is something that should be looked at with this kind of lens where it's like everybody involved is kind of a lunatic for it. So we kind of get a newscast, and the idea is this old Hollywood star called Kane Westwood is kind of representing some initiative. Here in Texas, we have this new law where it's if you want to settle your shit through a duel, you can. If you want to hey, if this is how you divorce somebody, duel. If somebody took your stuff, duel. We're doing great. It's kind of like Westworld out here. It's the Wild West, but we also have a robot. We have a robot that's a tribute to the great late Charlton Heston, and it says, "From my cold, dead hands." And you're like, dude, that is so on the nose, it's not even a joke. You are just clearly saying your political beliefs in a way that's not even funny anymore. But that's not, I'm not criticizing it for that. I just think it's so obvious, and that starts being okay, you're not being funny anymore. You're just being there. So we see that this old Hollywood star Westwood, he's bringing this guy onto the stage who's going to be the CEO of the weapons retailers in America, John Duperry. And I'm okay, he's this is great. You guys are great. I love Texas. I love guns. Everything's great. The gun rights begin at conception. He gives a baby a gun, and that's when the Survival Street kids show up, and they're we challenge you to a duel then. We'll kill you here and make a statement, but you're too much of a pussy to do anything about it. And again, somebody called this out in my last episode talking about these. It's they're using guns to protest gun violence. It is a little hypocritical. But if that's the point of the book, where it's supposed to be even these people considered as terrorists who are potentially fighting for the left are doing the things that the right is doing, is that the point it's being said? Both sides are corrupt? Is that what's being said? I didn't look up the political beliefs of the creator of this book. I don't know if they're right-leaning or left-leaning, but you don't get a clear sense of favoritism either. It sounds more just, obviously there is the left-leaning tendencies where it's the heroes are the left. It's just a lot, right? And this is really Herbert's issue, and Herbert is kind of the Elmo stand-in, the Grover stand-in, the Kermit stand-in. We see his history, he is from this place called the Snuffleupagus Islands, 63 years ago. It's just colonization in a sense, where this American shows up to this hidden tribe. They're hey, you have cool stuff here. We could set up a mine and you guys could work for it, and then we get some of it for America. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? And you're oh, see, that's where I'm That's a fun concept because that is you skewing fun at like American ideology. That's fun. But then we see, you know, their stance at the gun rally went bad. Now they're fighting for their lives. And you're like, okay, that's cool. The Charlton Heston robot is put on kill. Everyone's getting into a big fight, big scrap on the way. You see that, okay, now the Hollywood star Westwood here, he's come out to shoot his guns too. Just a lot. And it's interesting, you know, Tony gets a car, starts running people over in this big old truck. It is a concept that I enjoy. Like, that is where I'm like, that is kind of fun. Go with that route, do something cool with that. Very interesting, kind of creative, who's to say, I don't know. And like, there's something to be said there, it's kind of working. We get another scene with Herbert's past. His dad's working in the mines, getting the Americans their quota. And there's an incident and the place might catch on fire. Nothing is going well. It's kind of getting scary. And as soon as the Americans can't have what they want, well, things go awry on the Snuffleupagus Islands. And we see that Herbert kind of has to go overseas to America to get a job. But nobody wants to hire a puppet until he gets Salutation Street auditions. And it's like, that is kind of brutally honest in a way you're not really expecting for a show like this, you know, a show like this, for a book like this. It's clearly a metaphor for the tribes people who have to come to America to like give, or anybody who's an immigrant coming to that country who has to provide for their family back home. It is interesting. It's a concept I can kind of get behind doing something with that. And I think it's presented better here than it should be, if that makes sense. So Herbert kind of goes AWOL. He starts chasing down John Duperry. He takes him into his clinic. He's like, okay, you say you can duel, then let's fucking duel, buddy. You want to fight me here? Let's actually fight. You have this shit. Even if you don't want to fight me, what I'm doing right now is I'm showing everybody that you are a coward who will not actually fight me. Does that make sense? You know what's going on? You're holding a baby. You're going to put the baby in front of me. And you see that Birdie shows up like, you can't do this. This is not how we do things. This is going to make us look bad, but it doesn't matter. This is an important thing. Herbert has been destroyed by the white man before, by guns before. He is going to do his best to hurt these people and hurt them in ways they're not going to forget. So he shoots John, kills him. Maybe he kills the baby. I don't think we see what happens to the baby. It's probably safe because he's a good guy, kind of, but it's, again, that message, the immigrant story broken by America. You have to kind of fend for yourself in these devastating ways. So Herbert breaks bad, kind of kills a guy on public television, and we don't see the repercussions of that because the last kind of page of the book is just, hey, Kane Westwood didn't actually die. You want to be the head of the WRA now? He's like, hey, that's something I could do. I'm going to kill those little puppets and everything's going to be fine. You know, normal things that are happening in this country. And that's where the book ends. We have a couple more issues left. And I'm going to cover more of it because there's something to be said about this book. It is an idea. It is kind of fun. There are certain things where I'm like, this is cool. I like the terrorist organization puppet angle where they're fighting for the left. And, you know, the world, not inaccurate to where it is today, is kind of right-leaning in terms of this country that they're depicting in this book. So that can make it kind of scary. It's over the top, sometimes a little too on the nose to make it funny or parody. The satire misses the mark a few times, but there's stuff here that feels interesting. I can't say it's brilliant, but I can say it's kind of cool in a way. I don't know. Maybe I just like puppets to the point where I'll support anything puppet related unless it really offends me. And so far I'm not offended, but I am just kind of whatevered by this book, if that makes sense. So Survival Street issue number 2, I am going to give a 7 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.